Hi friends, welcome to our channel where we bring you new stories every week. Today's story is called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a beautiful princess named Snow White. Her skin was as white as snow, her lips as red as roses, and her hair as black as ebony. She was kind, gentle, and loved by everyone in the kingdom. Except one person, the evil queen, her stepmother. The evil queen was very beautiful, but she was also vain and jealous. Every day she would stand in front of her magic mirror and say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And every time the mirror would reply, "My queen, you are the fairest in the land." But one morning, when Snow White was 14 years old, the mirror answered, "Queen, you are fair, but Snow White is the fairest of them all." Filled with rage and envy, the queen's eyes flashed like lightning. "So Snow White is the fairest, is she?" she sneered. "Well, then I will make sure she stays the fairest for the rest of her life." She stormed out of the room, her mind filled with evil thoughts. That same day, the queen had her servants prepare a magnificent gown for Snow White, then invited her to come to the palace ballroom and dance with her. But the queen had secretly laced the dress with sharp thorns that pricked Snow White's skin as she twirled around the room. When the queen watched Snow White in pain, she cackled with glee. "Oh, silly child," she said. "You look pretty in that gown, but you can't dance in it." Then she took Snow White aside and whispered, "Here, let me fix your dress." While Snow White wasn't looking, the queen tied a thick cord around her waist, cinching it tight. "There," she said with a smile. "Now you should have no trouble dancing." The queen had made the belt so tight that Snow White could barely breathe, and when she tried to take it off, the queen stopped her. "No, no, child," she said. "You must wear this belt until I tell you to remove it. Now go get ready for the grand ball tonight. You must be the fairest girl there." All the way to her room, Snow White felt tears stinging her eyes. She didn't want to go to the ball. She knew her stepmother only wanted to humiliate her. But when her royal advisors told her it was her duty to attend, she knew she couldn't refuse. As night fell, Snow White got dressed in a beautiful blue gown. Her eyes sparkled like stars, and her cheeks glowed like moons. When the queen saw her stepdaughter, she was stunned. For a moment, she forgot all about her evil plan. "Why are you so beautiful?" she whispered. "I am going to the ball now," Snow White replied. "Are you coming, stepmother?" The queen stood frozen. Then she quickly shook her head. "No, no, child. I am not feeling well. Go have fun without me." Snow White curtsied and left the room. At the ball, all the princes and princesses admired her beauty, but inside, Snow White wished she could run away. The queen had made her so nervous that all Snow White could think about was escaping to a safe place. Just then, a handsome prince approached her and asked her to dance. His name was Florian. He was kind and funny, and for a while, Snow White forgot all her troubles. But after the third dance, she excused herself and hurried out of the palace. She raced through the gardens and deep into the forest. Tears streamed down her face. "Where am I going?" she cried. "I don't know where I am or what I am doing here." Suddenly, she tripped over a tree root and fell to the ground. Panting, she sat up and looked around. In the distance, she saw a small cottage surrounded by flowers. She wiped her tears, stood up, and walked toward the cottage. "Maybe someone will help me," she whispered. Then she noticed something strange. All the windows and doors were tiny. Snow White realized it was a house for gnomes or fairies. Just then, the front door opened and a tiny yet friendly voice called out, "Hello, is anyone out there?" Startled, Snow White jumped back. "Who's there?" she asked. "Don't be afraid," the voice replied. "It's just me, a dwarf. Can I help you?" From behind the door, 7 pairs of curious eyes peered out. Hello," Snow White stammered. "I am Snow White, and I was wondering if I could maybe stay here for a while." The dwarfs were taken aback by her beauty. "Why do you want to stay here, little princess?" one of them asked. "I ran away from my home," Snow White admitted, "and I don't want to go back." "Well, why don't you stay here with us?" another dwarf suggested. "We have lots of extra food and rooms." Snow White was grateful for their kindness. "Thank you," she said. "I won't take up much space, I promise." So Snow White moved into the cottage. She helped the dwarfs cook meals, clean their house, and even mend their clothes. The dwarfs appreciated her hard work, and every night before bed, they would gather around their beds and sing to her. Soon, Snow White was part of their family. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the evil queen paced angrily around her room. "Mirror, mirror on the wall," she demanded. "Who is the fairest of them all?" "My queen, you are fair," the mirror replied. "But Snow White is the fairest in the land." The queen slammed her hand against the mirror, and it shattered. "That stupid mirror," she fumed. "It doesn't know what it's talking about. I am the fairest, and I will prove it." So the queen went to her crystal ball and peered inside it. She saw Snow White sitting happily with the dwarfs. Then the queen had an evil idea. She put on a long black cloak and disguised herself as an old woman. Next, she picked up her basket and went to the market to buy a red apple. It was the most beautiful fruit she could find. But unbeknownst to her, the apple had a magical sleeping spell on it. The queen continued on her way to the dwarf's cottage. She knocked on the door and said, "Good afternoon, little dears. May I come in?" "What are you doing here, old woman?" one of the dwarfs asked suspiciously. "I only wanted to give this to whoever lives in this house," the queen replied, holding out her basket. "I have some fresh apples and berries for sale. Very nice, very healthy." She peered through the window and saw Snow White inside. An evil grin spread across her face. "Well then, give me one of your red apples," Snow White said. "It looks delicious." The queen handed it to her and whispered, "Be careful, dear child. This apple has a sleeping spell on it. Only the kiss of true love can break it." Then she turned and walked away. Snow White looked at the apple in her hands. She was confused because she hadn't heard any warning bells or seen any signs of danger. She took a bite of the apple and it tasted sweet and yummy. But as soon as it touched her throat, she started to feel drowsy. She stumbled backwards and fell to the floor. The dwarfs rushed to her side, but they couldn't wake her up. They were heartbroken. They couldn't bear to bury her, so they made her a glass coffin and placed it in the forest with flowers all around. After 7 days, a prince riding through the forest saw Snow White in her coffin. He was mesmerized by her beauty. He leaned down and gently kissed her forehead. Suddenly, Snow White opened her eyes. The spell was broken. The dwarfs cheered with joy. Snow White smiled and thanked them for saving her life. The prince asked her to return with him to his kingdom, and she said yes. And so, Snow White and the prince rode off to the castle. They were soon married and lived happily ever after. As for the evil queen, when she asked the mirror again, it stayed silent, because evil never wins in the end. The end. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can watch our new videos next week. Thanks for watching. See you soon.